The vision for Woolwich Station really comes from its unique location. It's a significant public building, but it sits within the Woolwich Arsenal site, a very important historic site. And we've used this public building to help reconnect the Arsenal with Woolwich. Now, over the years, for various reasons, the Arsenal has become very separated. And part of the vision was, how do we use this building to reconnect the Arsenal site as a public site with Woolwich Town Centre? It's a military site. It's got some very robust and strong, powerful architecture. And it's responding to that robustness, reflecting it in the materials, the treatment of the structure. The third thing that drove the vision was really this particular part of the site, whereas we're on one edge of Dylarch Square. Dylarch Square is the original entrance into the site, and it has a much more delicate feel. The buildings are older, 18th century buildings. I think the first one is 17th century. They're all listed, one of them grade 1. So they form a charming little space. And so it's responding to this unique setting has really driven the vision. The station itself completes the eastern side of that square. So it's a very important building. And while it's small, the portal has a clear span of about 27 meters. And that monumental scale gives the station its kind of presence, because it's competing with some very big buildings, all this new housing on the side. People's experience of the station really begins with the journey from Woolwich Centre and from Beresford Square, which really was the old historic opening into the Woolwich Arsenal site. So we've got a super crossing, now a major road, which allows for big flows of people to come across. And then the portal, the big portal, signifies what is a major new public building. So then you come into this space, which is the main concourse. It's a very simple station. There's one entrance. So you really come into this, it's a very sort of simple, elegant movement pattern through this space and down through the escalators with natural light from the window beyond. I mean, Woolwich Station's all really quite unique because of the development that the station supports. So one of the engineering challenges was to embrace significant development within the station structure. The station itself supports 8 stories of housing, and alongside there are 5 towers up to about 25-30 stories. Another challenge, perhaps not a challenge, this site is quite unusual because as we excavated the building, this building is thanet sand. So the earth here that we were excavating is this fine, almost coral sand that is like you would see in a children's sandpit. So over 99% of the soil was reused. And when we dug down and we cast the concrete walls, you could see in the concrete walls, through the sand, you could see the line of an old riverbed, which hadn't run through this site since Roman times, but it was part of that geology. Whether that's a challenge or not, it's very interesting from an engineering point of view. The story of the dead man's penny, we should really call it Plaque of Condolence. So after World War I, after the Great War, every military fatality was marked with a plaque of condolence, which was cast out of bronze. There was a design competition to design that. It was won by Edward Carter Preston. And if you forgive the pun, it's a very Edwardian design, but there's something, it's of its time. Now, as we are about 100 years since the Armistice Day, we decided it was appropriate to use that as a kind of reminder and a decorative motif. So we have a lot of ventilation that's required throughout the station, and we've used perforated aluminium metal panels. And we've used the perforations to create a large-scale decorative motif based on Edward Carter Preston's design. There are also other historic elements. The cladding to the entrance has these heavy bronze panels, but they are softened, if you like, decorated with a rifling design, which is specific to this site. So there are 2 companies of artillery who were based on this site, and they were known as the Royal Regiment of Artillery, and their colours are red, blue with gold highlights. So we've used the regimental colours as a motif on the platform. The Royal Engineers also, they're blue and red. So you'll notice that half the columns are done blue and red and half of the columns have a yellow highlight. Here we've got the sinuous concrete beams, very strong, powerful elements, but with a hint of delicacy because this is very much based around passenger experience. And then brick is the predominant material over most of the site. And so there's a wide variety of bricks. We've chosen a darker brick which goes down the escalator shaft, and that's, reflects that kind of industrial feel and the history of the building. We've got a brown roof with plants growing on it, a sedum roof. Now, there's some very tall buildings around, so the roofs can be seen from above, so that was quite important. But it also encourages wildlife, so it's part of the regeneration of the site, not just the regeneration for people and the experience of living here, but regeneration from industry, regeneration to nature. So the public realm design was done hand in hand with Gillespie's, and it's a critical part of the user experience. It serves to reconnect the town centre, which has been severed by the main road, to the Arsenal site and this major new public building. And the public realm really celebrates this public building. To arrive at a central London station and see trees and a square surrounded by 18th century brick buildings is really quite an unusual arrival experience. And the public realm is really a key part of that experience. The whole project was a fascinating process because when Crossrail was first mooted, there was never a station proposed at Woolwich. And we were employed initially by the developer Berkeley Homes, who are master planning the whole site. And there was an extraordinary alliance of the local authority, Royal Borough of Greenwich, the MP, who was Nick Rainsford at the time, the developer, Berkeley Homes, together with Crossrail, lobbying to put a station here. The station is justified by the fantastic regenerative benefits it has for this site and the wider Woolwich area. We know that the Royal Borough of Greenwich is rightly very proud because they played an important part in getting the station here in the first place. And the Elizabeth Line connection is a big deal. The architecture is only a part of that. But I really hope this building will be loved for its simplicity and its robustness as part of that passenger experience.